All right, it's been a couple weeks, easily a couple weeks, since I've done anything with this device. So let's go ahead and see how it's doing. So just to recap, I did some super glue on this portion that was already broken. And then I went ahead and super glued a small piece here that had fallen off just during the process of disassembling stuff. So gave that plenty of time to dry. Gave it plenty of time to cure, everything like that. Also decided to pick up some thermal pads to replace the thermal pad for the GPU on this. So we'll be doing that today, assuming I have my knife out here. If not, through the power of editing, I will momentarily. Oh, no, it's right here. Perfect. All right, so let's just kind of recap where we were and see what our next step is going to be. All right. So, looks like our next step is to reassemble, starting with the cover here. So let's go ahead and we'll just take a look at that. It's not the best hot glue or super glue job, but it feels more rigid than it did, so I'll take that as a W. So let's go ahead and take a look at what all we have to hook back up. We've got the trackpad cable, which looks like it is pretty easy to do. It's just one of these little rocker switches. And I think that's it. Let's give this just another quick brush down with a toothbrush, just because there's a little bit of gunk in the trackpad area and I don't want to do that. So give me 1 second. All right, got that cleaned up a bit. So let's go ahead and get this kind of lined up. See if there's any hooks. Doesn't look like it, but I want to be very careful with it, or as careful as one can be with something this old. So before we clip it into place, let's go ahead and hook the trackpad back up so we don't forget that if it wants to play ball. Come on. That little black rocker switch can be a pain. There we go. All right. Pinch that down. There we go. All right, so that's hooked up. So now we should be able to just go around the edge and give it a little click into place in certain areas. If it wants to play. Come on. There we go. Give me a couple of them. Obviously it's old, brittle plastic, so I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but hopefully better than what it was. Let's go ahead. A lot of this is going to come down to the screws from the underside, so hopefully that'll be easy enough. All right, let's take a look at what all we got here. So we've got screws up for the top. So we've got, looks like 3 hinge screws here. It's been a minute, 3 hinge screws there. We've got these pieces for in here. Let's see, we've got 3. All right. I'm going to review the other video and we'll see what screws those were. All right, reviewed my video, found out where I placed those screws. So it looks like we've got 2 of them. Leave right here and right here. So let's go ahead and get those back in. All right, that one sucked up, so that's good. Same with this one, no doubt. All right, perfect. So we're good there, we're good there. Let's take a look at our next couple steps. So when did the speakers go in? I can't quite recall. I think they went in, or they came out after or before this came out, so they go in after this goes back in. We'll review. Well, I was wrong. Speakers needed to go back in first. So let's pretend I didn't do any of that. We're going to set these off to the side again. Get this opened up. Hopefully not break any more tabs or clips. All right. And instead of just removing it, I'm just going to set it like that. Let's go ahead and get these speakers back in here. So let's take a look at the design. Just reviewing the other video I made. How did those speakers mount? Okay. So it looks like mounted like so. Yep, that tracks. Okay. And then this plugged in. Looks like so. Yep, that also tracks. Okay. Does that go in on top? It does. Okay, cool. So the routing was a whole other ball game. Let's see if I can figure out the routing without being silly. Let's see, does it go up through here? We'll find out. Give me 1 second. All right, let's redo the routing here. So it looks like it just clips in roughly right there. Okay. And those are fine. All right, so now we have the 3 speaker screws. So let's go ahead and get those installed. So we've got one here. And there's a screw hole up here, but that's for the rest of the mounting up on top of the frame. So we will ignore that for the moment. Let's just go ahead and get all these screws in place. And we got one more. There we go. All right. Routing's about as good as it's going to get. That's fine. Just go ahead and close this back up. Yep, perfect. Okay. So let's go ahead and get these screws in first, as the storm is starting to kick up outside. So that's lovely. Last time I worked on this, it was 85 degrees outside, and that made it about 95 here in my office. Or shed, rather. But such is life. All right, let's go through and just give it a little click around the edges, just for fun. There we go. Got a couple. There we go. All right, it's feeling more solid. So now we should be good to start the reassembly of this portion. So let's go ahead and get a screw in there. Get a screw in here. Little one goes in the middle. This guy goes over here. And the final one goes right here. All right. Let's go ahead and get those mounted in. Okay. Start with the edges. Now, at this point, I'm just hoping that this still functions in some capacity. If not, at the very least, I've got some spare parts for one of the other multitude of Gateway FXs that I've got available to me. So, not terribly concerned, but it would be nice if it still functioned. So, all right. I'm going to take just a quick break here, and I'll be right back. All right, so just wanted to find the monitor, get it hooked back up properly. So let's go ahead and take a look at the orientation that we need for the wireless cables. Looks like it goes through. Go through this gap here. It looks like it does. Let's find out. All right, it doesn't look like that goes through, so that's fine. We'll just go ahead and get this navigated through the channels and pipe that down through to the bottom. And then we'll do the same for the black one. Let's see if there's a channel for it. Looks like there is, so let's go ahead and use the channel. There's that. Clicks like that. Perfect. Okay. And navigate through the river there. and pump that through to the bottom as well. All right, so Wi-Fi card is back where it should be. Let's make sure that this is actually channeled appropriately. There's little black channels along the top here where this definitely needs to exist, or where it needs to fit. So let's make sure. All right, and let's go ahead and hook the monitor cable back up as well, and double check the routing of the monitor cable to the best of our ability. Obviously, it's not going to be good. That's just the nature of this machine. But we can at least try and make it not look like garbage. All right. Okay. All right, so that's back in. Wi-Fi is going through. That's all going through. Let's find our keyboard. All right. Did I clean the keyboard? I think I did. Let's give it another cleaning though, just in case. All right, just about as good as it's going to get. So let's go ahead and get the keyboard back in place. There's the ribbon cable here. This is a pop-up black clamp. So let's go ahead and just make sure that's popped up. And we want to make sure that this is in there nice and tight. There we go. Clamp it back on. Okay, good. All right, now we'll just kick this down below like so. All right, and then we've got the 3 keyboard screws. In the middle screw was a long one. I think the 2 on the side were shallow. So let's go ahead and do the shallow ones first. There we go. Do another shallow over on the other side. Or a short one, rather. Come on. There we go. And then this extra long one for some reason. Does that actually grab anything? I don't think that's actually grabbing anything. Let's see. Is it? Oh yeah, I just had to keep going. All right. Cool. So we got that sorted. So let's take a look at our next piece that we have to get back on. We have to get the screws for the hinges. So let's find those real quick. It looks like those screws are just right here. So let's go ahead and get those installed. Release some of the tension there. Let's see if these are the right screws. They should be. In my last video, I mentioned they were the same size as all the other screws from the bottom of the case, which for hinges, I would assume that they would probably have been sturdier, but I think the majority of the weight is, yeah, that's actually okay. That's fine. Seems like it's okay. All right, cool. Now that we got those nice and tight, let's grab this little kit. So I went ahead and wiped this down as best I could, cleaned off a lot of the speaker grill crap, and it looks like all we've got is one little ribbon cable that needs to be hooked up. So let's go ahead and do our best to do that. This is another one of those black rockers, so I want to make sure I can actually access it. There we go. Yep. All right. It's in. Okay. There we go. And we're going to need this to help close this side. And this to help close that side. And the column rockers, because they want to rock when you go to do this work. So, all right. Looks like we should be good. So let's go ahead and tuck that in and see what breaks. You know, again. All right. So, immediate problem that I'm seeing. Let's go ahead and peel this back off if we can. Come on. Come on. you know you want to pop off here. Goodness. Fine. There we go. All right. So immediate problem. The amount of super glue here is an issue. And there's a little clamp here that was supposed to go into that hole, and that was broken, and now that hole is filled. So we're just going to break that off, and I'm going to trim this super glue a little bit, and we'll see what else I can break on this device. Let's try and get some of the additional crap off, make it a little more flush. It doesn't need to be perfect, but there we go. All right. All right, let's give that a shot now. Oh, it's better. It's definitely better. So we got that going for us. That's good. It's definitely not perfect. Let's try and close on this and just see how it does. It definitely wants to cantilever a little. Well, once we get to the underside, we should be able to suck this thing down a little bit further with some of the screws from underneath. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll flip this over. Let's take a look at what we got. All right. Still got to do some cleanup here too. Goodness. Where are my... There we go. Q-tip. Let's clean off CPU a little bit more. Looks like a 84, an Intel Core 2 Duo E84 something. Or no, 7870 at 2.53 gigahertz, 3 meg cache, 1066 frontside bus. Okay. That's nice and clean. That's nice and clean. All right, let's make sure we've got what we need here. So I want to get a couple of screws into that if possible, because that's just not as sucked down as I want. Let's see if I've got anything that might work for a use case like this, because none of the screws over here are going to be shallow enough for this use case. Let's just take a look. Does that grab anything? Nope, that one doesn't grab. Do we have any others that might? There we go. Ah, nice. All right. So I got a couple of HP screws from one of my last disassembly videos. The HP itself was completely busted. Like the motherboard worked. Well, it wasn't completely busted, sorry. The computer itself functioned fine. The screen was busted, and replacing the screen was worth more than just parting it out. So, obviously, that didn't make any sense. All right. Let's try these smaller ones here, too. Nope, those don't grab onto anything. Too shallow. It's fine. That one won't work. Let's see. Any others that might work? I don't even think these actually go anywhere, but... Okay, so that's going in. Let's see if the battery still slides into place. Where did I stash the battery? I had it in my hands like 15 minutes ago. My goodness. This is another reason why I've got to finish this project soon, is because I need to clean this area up. It is driving me insane. All right, I'm going to find that. I'll be right back. You know what? I changed my mind. I'm not going to deal with that. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. No big deal. All right. Anyway, all right, let's start by getting the Wi-Fi card reinstalled here. Looks like that's just going to be one screw. There we go. Get that reinstalled. All right. So I cannot remember if white goes to the left one. I think it does. And black goes to the right one. Let me check the video and double check. Yep, reviewed the video. White is on the left side. Black is on the right side. So let's go ahead and get those reassembled. Lovely. All right. And now let's start putting some screws back in this to give it a little more rigidity if we can. So, bam. And bam. And bam. This one looks like it goes up here. Okay. At least it should. Yeah, that one should go in there. Let's just give that a test here. Let's see. Do you fit in there? You do, but you're difficult to make go. So we'll just keep at it. It's probably just not perfectly aligned, which is whatever. That's just how 90% of this project has gone so far, which is, again, whatever. It's fine. All right, let's get a couple screws in here, down here. Looks like somebody tried some super glue over here at some point. That's funny. Oh no, actually, ignore me. That's the that was the spot where I ended up having to super glue because I needed a channel. So that was me. All right, that was me being dumb. Let's see if it'll make it past the super glue. Goodness. Come on, there we go. I'm sure that's fine, right? Yeah, all right. Holy shit, that worked. That's hilarious. All right. So we got one there and one up here. So I might be missing a single screw, which, whatever, it's fine. We're all doing our best out here, right? Right. All right, let's get this back in. Come on. Oh, are you going to be a pain? There we go. Goodness. All right. Secret screw is back in. Let's recover it. Okay, let's tighten these all up. Let's go around the horn. Bam, bam. Is that actually a screw? Is it going in? Oh, that's right. I didn't put a screw there. Good job, Sam. Goodness. There we go. That's all tightened up. That's all tightened up. That's all tightened up. All right. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. So let's go ahead and get rid of this old thermal pad. Now the question is, should I bother with a new thermal pad or should I just replace it with thermal paste? It's the $1 million question, right? Okay. It's about as good as that's going to get, unfortunately. So let's see. Looks like the CPU is lower than the GPU, which would explain why they use the thermal pad. So let's go ahead and cut myself a new thermal pad from my Arctic TP3. Should be pretty straight. All right, fresh thermal pad. Adds a little height to it, so I think that should do the trick. So next we just need to add a little thermal paste to the CPU die itself. So we'll just use some of this MX4 if it wants to open for me. And we don't need a lot. Although I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me that I use too much and too little. All right, that's probably too much, to be honest. I'm in the comments now. That's too much, but it's fine. It'll do. All right, so let's go ahead and get this reinstalled. So we'll give it a little squish there. All right. As with any CPU heatsink, there's a pattern that you want to do. Thankfully, this was nice enough to give us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern, even though it's pretty straightforward. We'll just do a couple turns on number 1, followed by a couple turns on number 2, then a couple turns on number 3, then a couple turns on number 4, then a couple turns on number 5. All right, and come back and repeat the process until they're tight. So there's 1 done, 2 done, 3 done, 4 done, and 5 done. All right, cool. That's reestablished. That's all set. Let's go ahead and reinstall the memory. Click and click. And I will be upgrading the memory at some point, but for now I just want to get it back to where it was, and we'll go from there. Let's grab the plate. See, did I clean the plate? I think I did not clean the plate. So I've got to clean the little cover. So I'll be right back. I was wrong. I had cleaned the plate. That was silly. Didn't need to do that. All right. So let's take a look. Drops in like so. Now I'm missing a couple screws for this plate, but we'll just make do with some of the spare screws we have just off to the side. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to close and look halfway decent. Let's see, will this one work? Hey, beautiful. All right, looks like some of these actually were designed for this. Maybe I should pay better attention when I'm taking the screws apart, or taking the screws out and putting them to the side. I should actually like label them instead of just drawing a crappy little square and putting them in their approximate locations. But we're all doing our best out here. So, all right, that's put away. Let's grab our thermal pad stuff, put that back away for the time being. We don't need that anymore. Gonna leave the hard drives out for the moment. I just want to flip this over and see that it powers on and doesn't completely just crap the bed. So let's go ahead and take a look. Crack it open. All right, there we go. That was a good click. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and plug it in. All right, immediately goes to power on. That's disconcerting. Oh, hey, look at that. We have a display. All right. Perfect. So now, I'm sure you can't really see that. So now we actually have a display. Let's turn it off. Turn it back on. Come on. See if we can get into the BIOS. I couldn't tell if that was the correct BIOS key or not, so I think it's F10. Let's find out. Oh, good enough. All right. Boot menu is F10. All right, let's take a look. Yep, a P8700. Perfect, so we're good there. All right. Reassembly is done. Now it is time to move on to the OS install. And for that, we are going to be using, let's see. We're going to be using a single brand new 1 terabyte, goodness. 120 gigabyte SSD from Patriot. The reason I use these is because you can buy them in a pack of 10 for 120 gigs for something like $60. And they work perfectly for this specific use case. So let's grab one of our caddies here. Let's go ahead and unplug this. We don't need that powered on. Okay. And let's go ahead and see how this is oriented. So bam, and yep, that's how she goes. I believe. Nope, I was wrong. Upside down. There we go. That's better. All right, let's grab a couple random screws here. just to get this installed if it wants to. Do I have any more that'll work? Nope, too skinny. If only, right? Let's see, is it going to be a problem? Yeah, they got to be pretty. They got to have a pretty small head there. So let's see what all I've got. All right, I'm going to find one. I'll be right back. All right. So finally found a couple screws. So 120 gig SSD. We're going to put it in the primary bay here. Just slide it into place. Tuck that in. And let's see, I had the cover for it. I think this cover is in good shape. So the tabs on these hard drive covers break off so frequently that I picked up a new one of these, or not a new one, but another Gateway FX for parts off of eBay, just so I could get hopefully an intact cover. And it looks like I did. So that's exciting. There we go. All right. Let's get those screws in. Maybe. Why do you not want to go in? All right. Oh, you know why those two don't go in? Those two don't go in because there's not a hard drive caddy on that side to screw it into. Those are the actual screw threads on the other side. So that's why those weren't going in. But it's fine. We're good. All right. All right. Got that. Got the drive. Let's find my Windows 7 installer. All right. Home Premium. Yep. Let's get that going. All right. If it can actually just get to the boot screen, then I'll end the video here and we'll do just a quick short of the install process. Since Windows 7 is pretty straightforward, if this was Windows Vista, I'd want the entire driver pack that I put together, which I will include a link to in the description. But since it's Windows 7, almost all of the drivers are already pre-installed with the service packs. So for now, let's go ahead and end the video, and I'll do a short of the install itself, and we'll come back.